Hey Divine Ones, it's Latoya Okia. Welcome back to another episode of the Divine Destiny with Latoya podcast. Y'all, I'm actually in the car again on this episode. So this is gonna be a Car Chronicles episode. So I had to just pull out my phone. So y'all excuse the noise. I had to just pull out my phone. This couldn't wait till I got back home to my equipment. Like, I literally had to just go ahead and pull out my phone because God was dealing with me so much just in these last few minutes. So he actually gave me multiple messages, but I'm gonna give y'all this one right now because it's hot on me right now. I just pulled out a Chick-fil-A, and I love me some Chick-fil-A. So I got me the chicken biscuit that I love to eat from Chick-fil-A in the mornings. So pulling out of Chick-fil-A and the Spirit of the Lord, as I was in the drive-thru, started to deal with me. And God said, He said, Chick-fil-A has done exactly what I told man to do. And I said, wow. And immediately the Holy Spirit just was speaking to me. And God began to deal with me. He said, I'm talking about Chick-fil-A. They have done exactly what God commanded us to do. One of the very first commandment that God gave to us, He told us to be fruitful. He told us to multiply. He told us to replenish, subdue. And God began to break that thing down to me. He said they done did exactly what I told them to do. And as the Spirit of the Lord began to use that as an example and give me revelation and show me that, God said, He told me, He said, that's exactly what you got to do. And He said, get on a podcast, get on YouTube, get on one of these platforms and tell my people, listen, hear ye the word of the Lord today. Listen, if you're not in a place financially where you want to be today, I'm finna tell you how to change that. I'm finna tell you how to move past that. I'm finna tell you how to rise up from your situation, whether it be financial, whether it be spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, whatever your situation is. You know how you're going to be able to rise up from that? You got to find your gift. Y'all listen to me now. Y'all know that's what you know me for. That's what I talk about, purpose and gifts, because you got to find your gift. You got to find it. And we marvel at some of these people and some of these franchises and restaurants and all this type of stuff. But all they did the very first commandment that God gave to man. God never intended for man to play small. God never intended for you He never intended to put you in this earth realm and then you just dwindle away on somebody's job, playing it small all your life, acting like you ain't got nothing in you. You don't know how to do nothing but work for somebody. Listen, that's all right. That's all right to work for somebody, but you also ought to have something attached to your name. You got to have something attached to your name that they can't fire you from. You got to have something attached to your name that's going to leave a legacy for your family, for your children. You got to leave some work in this earth realm. So even long after you gone, people will know you. People will remember you. They can't forget you. We cannot forget Chick-fil-A. Okay? We cannot forget McDonald's. Okay? We might talk about them. You know, you might get mad because they left your French fries out your bag. Your French fries were stale or whatever. You know. But I know that's how I was. I'm always complaining about them, but I'm always going back. Always going back to that drive-thru. Why? Because they have successfully done what God told man to do. They have been fruitful. They have produced something. Be fruitful means to produce something of great value. Produce something, but now, let me back up now, because before you can produce anything, you must find your gift. Okay? Because you can't try to be fruitful in what's not your gift. You can't try to be fruitful in something that God didn't call you to do. So you got to find your gift first. You got to find that first. And then in that, you have to start producing. Start producing. Now, this is the problem right here, because when people start getting this phase right here, when they find their gift and they start producing, they automatically think that they can scale. They automatically want to scale. How can I scale my business? How can I serve more clients? How can I make more money? And I understand that. And those are questions that you do need to be asking to your mind, because your mind is going to give you the answers to that. I understand that. But God say that we have to understand, in the beginning, nothing is going to just automatically come to you overnight. You have to be fruitful. And God showed me, well, when you first find your gift, he's showing me like a lab. It's like a spiritual lab that he puts you in, because it's like you coming up with a cure for something. It's like God, he don't, when you find your gift, he don't automatically just put you out there for the world to see you yet. Now you're going to have that time where your season going to come. But God said, before your season come, pull them back up in my driveway, y'all. Let me get settled. But God said, before your season comes, he said, I put you in the lab. Because he said there are some things that I still need to mix and match and stir up and calibrate in you. There's still some things that God got to work out in that gift. He put you in that spiritual lab, because that's when he refines your gift. In other words, that's when you go through your developmental process. That's when you get your coaching sessions. That's when you get with a coach or a mentor. That's when you read the books. That's when you listen to the audio books. That's when you listen to the podcast. That's when you listen to the YouTube videos. That's when you attending the seminars, the workshops, the conferences. God got you in the spiritual lab. LAB, the spiritual lab. Because God said he said your calibration is off. He said there's some things that I got to get out of you. There's some things that's in you that cannot go where I'm taking you. So God said, I have to take you through the spiritual lab. And he said, once I take you through there and you complete that process, he said, you ready. And God said, after you go through the lab, meaning after you go through your self-development, your personal development, your spiritual development with God, after your gift has been developed. Because listen, baby, when you find that gift, you got to develop it. Listen to me. You can't lean and trust on the fact that you gifted. Some of these folks, ooh, I'm gifted. I can prophesy. I can preach. I can speak. I can write. I can sing. But you have not been developed. Come on now. I need y'all to get this, because this is what messed so many people up. They gifted, and then they get mad with God because they think they ought to make it because they gifted. Your gift, I'm not going to say it don't have nothing to do with it, but it's only a percentage of it. Finding the gift is only a percentage of it. Please get this, y'all, because this is why so many people are not being successful in what God has called them to do. They thinking there's something wrong with their connection with God, or they thinking that they off, or something is wrong. But I'm telling you what's wrong. You got to develop the gift first. You cannot skip this season. You cannot skip that season of development. I don't care who you are. Go look at anybody. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Oprah, Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey. Go look at any of these folks. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Okay? Go look at anybody that has been successful at their gift and at their craft. And you will, if you can go back, because success leaves clues. That's one thing about success. It ain't hiding from you. You just ain't put your mindset in the right posture so you can see it and you can recognize it for what it is. But when you shift your mindset and you change mentally and you look, you'll see that success has been there all along. We got the same amount of time as Warren Buffett. We got the same amount of time as Eric Thomas. We got the same amount of time as Oprah Winfrey, as Tyler Perry. We have the same amount of time as Beyonce, Jay-Z. They don't have anything more than we have. All they did was find their gifts. They developed them. So you got to understand, they did the first commandment. They obeyed the first commandment, what God told man. See, we get so caught up on all the other commandments, and we do need to obey God's commandments, all of them. But we forget about the first thing that God told us to do. He told us, he said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. And then he said, subdue it. And God said, when I was in the drive-through line at Chick-fil-A, God said, you see what they've done? Glory be to God. He began to speak to me as a father speaks to his daughter. God began to deal with me so in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, and God began to minister to me. He sent his spirit to minister to me, and God said that they have done what I have told them to do. And he said, take note of this, my daughter. Take note of this. And I'm telling you today, the children of God, You are the children of God. God is telling you today, take note of this. He says, be fruitful. In other words, God say, find your gift. There is something that you do well that other people struggle with, but it's easy for you. There's something that you do well. And I'm going to tell y'all, this thing that you do, sometimes you do it innately. It's autopilot. I've spoken to so many people through purpose coaching that I offer, and I've told them their gifts, and then where their mindsets are, they just have a hard time accepting it. They can't accept it because they've been conformed to the image of the world. They've been conformed to the way of the world, and they can't accept it. Because they can't possibly think that it's that easy. The world complicates things, but it's not that complicated with God. I'm telling y'all, it's simple. And it's so simple, you've been overlooking it all your life. If you don't know your purpose, that's because it's so simple that you've been overlooking it all your life. Because you think it's some kind of long formula that you got to try to figure out or something. But I'm telling you, it's simple. It's so simple. It's just you being who you are, and you taking your natural talent, your natural gift, and then developing it. See, it seems simple because it ain't been developed. You got to develop it. And y'all go back on this episode and listen to the things that I'm telling you that you got to do to develop your gift. That's when I was talking about the podcast, listening to podcasts. You got to feed your mind 24/7. 24/7. You can't let not 1 minute pass by that you not feeding your mind. If you not feeding your mind, it ought to be because you on a job and you can't put no earbuds in your ear, or you at a doctor's appointment where you got to listen to your doctor or something. If you're not listening to nobody that's of importance, or it's a rule or a regulation in your life that you got to put them earbuds down or turn them headphones off, you ought to have your headphones on. I don't care what nobody say. When you in your spiritual development phase, when you in that lab, when God got you in that lab, God developing that gift, baby. God is the scientist. He is the divine scientist. And he in there mixing up some stuff in you. And you got to put yourself in the lab yourself. God ain't going to put you in there. You got to put yourself in there. But when you get in there, God going to take care of what need to be taken care of in you. So I want y'all to get this today. Find your gift. Identify it. And then start developing it. Start taking classes. You ain't got to go attend no $30,000 a semester university. That's the conformity of the world. That's what the world done taught us. Now, depending on what your gift is, now, if it's medical, then you know you got to go to school for something like that. But y'all know what I mean. Use your discernment with this. Whatever your gift is, whatever you being called to do. Get certifications for it. Take classes. Go through a self-development phase. Yes, you do need to be praying and you do need to be reading your word, but you don't need to get so stuck right there neither. You don't need to be sitting down on your couch or sitting in your house every day praying and reading your Bible and think that you putting in that work, because you got to pray and then you got to get up and take action. You got to get up and move. See, we want to just rest on the prayers. That's lazy. I'm telling y'all straight up. You probably not going to like me, but I'm going to put that fire up under you. And I'm telling you today, you can't be sitting there in that house or sitting there in that church praying, reading that Bible, thinking that you putting that work in. No, you're not putting no work in. You only doing half of it. You got the faith, but you ain't got no works. Come on now. So you got to find your gift. You got to develop it. Go through the spiritual lab. You can't skip that process because you're going to pay for it in the end if you try to skip it. Beware of these folks that's promising you all this stuff in your business for nothing. That is the devil. That is the enemy. Quick fixes. God don't work like that. God wants you to go through your development. He want to put you in that lab so he can perfect some things in your spirit, because he know what you're going to have to come up against later on. So God want to make sure you prepared for that. Don't fall for these quick fix schemes, because it's going to come back to haunt you in the end. And you'll end up losing everything because you did not take the time to prepare and develop yourself. Telling y'all some real stuff. But that's what Chick-fil-A did. That's what God told me. He said they found their gift. He said they developed it. They were fruitful. In other words, they produced a product of great value. The chicken. The customer service. And then God said they multiplied it. They multiplied it. He said, you see Chick-fil-A everywhere. He said this to me about McDonald's too. He said, you see McDonald's everywhere. They all over the world. They multiplied it. They multiplied it. They didn't just produce one. They produce. See, this is what you got to do. You got to work it until you make the first successful one. Listen to me, y'all. This is so important. At the point where you make one sale, I don't care if it's only one book that you sold. I don't care if it's only one session that somebody booked you for. I don't care if it's only one client that you serviced. If you serviced one, you can service 1,000,000. Listen to me. All you got to do is take what you did with that one client and multiply it. You got to multiply it. So you have to come up with a system you have to come up with some type of system that you can develop that's going to put you in places spiritually, but you're not there physically. Listen to me now. Listen to me. You got to multiply your gift. After you find it and after you identify it, after you develop it, then you got to multiply it. You got to multiply it. And then that's when the replenishment comes in. When God said replenish, he means you got to set up inventory for what I gave you. You got to set up inventory, because if you ain't got your inventory, you ain't got nothing. Y'all know that. If y'all ever been in business and y'all had to run inventory, if you ain't got inventory, you ain't got nothing. You might as well shut the doors down, because you're not even in business. So God said you got to get your inventory. It does not have to be physical inventory. It could be digital inventory. It could be, you know what I'm saying? It does not have to be a physical warehouse of stock that you have, but you just have to have some kind of way, some kind of system. God dealt with me about systems. He said it's all about systems. He said the reason Chick-fil-A is successful is because they have systems. He said the reason McDonald's is successful, and not just successful, they are hugely successful, it's because they have systems. God said they have subdued the market. And he said, that's what I want you to do. He said, I want you to find your gift. He said, I want you to develop it. I want you to multiply it. I want you to package it up. I want you to present it to the marketplace. And he said, when you bring it to the marketplace, he said, I want you to shut it down. I want you to subdue it. He said, for that area of gifting that I gave you, should nobody else do it better than you do it. Come on now. And I'm going to tell y'all something. They might do it better than you do it, but they shouldn't outwork you. They shouldn't, when it come up to your work ethic and your grind, them folks shouldn't have nothing on you. They might slay them heads better than you slay them heads. They might do them nails a little bit better than you do them nails. And they might play that guitar a little bit better than you play that guitar. But while they sleep and snoring and slobbing, you sitting up practicing. You sitting up practicing your instrument. You sitting up practicing your craft, refining your gift, because God got you in the lab. You got to be developed, baby. Come on now. Don't worry about them folks. Forget them folks. Wish them well and wish them the best, and then go on about your business and stay in your lane that God has put you in. God created a lane just for you. We mess ourselves up when we start looking at Susie to our right and Tommy to our left. God said you got to keep your eyes lifted towards the hills. Keep your eyes on God and go through your development. And you might see people that make it, that came up with you. You might see people that become successful. They get there before you. You might have started before them and they get there before you. But don't you worry about that. That's what God said. Don't you worry about that. He said you stay committed to the process, because he said I'm developing you. You can't measure your success by what somebody else doing. You can't do that. You have to measure your success by your own life. You got to don't look at nobody else's life. Look at your own life and see where God done brought you from. Don't look at your sister. Don't look at your brother, because you don't know they walk. You don't know what they had to endure. You don't know what they had to go through. You don't know how many nights they stayed up crying. You don't know what their grind was behind closed doors. That's why you don't look at nobody else. You got to keep your eyes lifted towards the hills and let God develop your gift, baby. Because when it's your time to shine, baby, can't nobody stop you. Do you hear me? When it's your time to shine, can't nobody stop your season. When Jesus came into his season, baby, Jesus wasn't worried about them folks. And God dealt with me with that too. When Jesus came into his season, God showed Jesus who he was. That's why Jesus wasn't worried about what they said about him. They said he was a worshiper of the devil and all that stuff. He was a working evil and a magician, because they saw that Jesus was able to heal these folks and perform these miracles. They ain't never want to give him his credit, but Jesus wasn't studying that mess. Jesus was the first one that said, forget them folks, baby. Come on now. Where you think I get it from? God said, my son said that first. My son, he said it in his own way, baby. Jesus said, he was telling the disciples, let them alone. Let them alone. Let them alone. In other words, Jesus saying, forget them folks. Forget them folks. I came to do a work for my Father. And that's the way y'all got to be. You got to say, forget these folks. I came to do a work for my Father. I'm about business. I'm about kingdom business. And you watching this on YouTube, I want you to put that in the comments. Say, I'm about kingdom business. We kingdom business over here. If it ain't kingdom, I don't want it. I think that's Redefined TV. I heard that on Jerry Flowers. He says that. Him and his wife, they say that. If it ain't kingdom, I don't want it. I don't want it. If you ain't talking kingdom, go on about your business. Go on about your business. So let God develop your gift. And then God said what will happen is when you go through your development, when you do not skip the process, when you stay faithful, you stay down with God, you stay loyal. Because we so loyal to all these folks. These folks, let me tell y'all something. Don't you be loyal to nobody that you're not in covenant with. If you are not in a covenant with them folks, if you are not in a marriage with these people, or if it's not God, you ain't got no business being loyal to nobody. Nobody. Be loyal to your purpose and be loyal to your gift. Be loyal to the purpose that God has called you to serve in this season, in your life. That's what we got to be loyal to. And in us being loyal to that, God will be loyal to our success. God will make sure that we succeed in everything that we do. But you got to do what he told you to do. He told you to produce a product. He told you to multiply that product. He told you to replenish the earth with that product, meaning that no matter where you go, and God told me this too, I'm going to wrap it up with this. He said, you notice no matter what Chick-fil-A you go to, they treat you the same way. Come on now. He said you get the same experience. It don't matter if you're in California or if you're in Alabama. He said you're going to get the same experience. He said the customer service is the same. And I was saying that as I was talking, having a conversation with God, I said, now I need to talk to the HR department of Chick-fil-A, because I need to find out, where do they find these people? Where do they hire these people, baby? Where they get these folks from? Because all of them are just smiling and all of them are happy. I don't even care if and it's cold where I am, and it was two girls that was outside at the drive-thru and it's freezing outside, and they still got good spirits. They still smiling. They still saying my pleasure. They still asking you, how are you doing this morning? How has your morning been going? And they standing outside in the cold taking orders. So understand, he said, no matter where you go, it's the same experience. And this is what God told me. He said, no matter what McDonald's you go to, it's the same menu. It's the same experience. They did the right thing one time, and then they duplicated it. They multiplied it, and they replenished the earth with it. And God said, that's what you got to do. He said, all you got to do is do the right thing one time. He said, do the right thing one time. He said, book one client, sell one product. And God said, go back and look at your system that you ran to get that product sold. Look at the system that you ran to book that client. And he said, come up with a multiplication system where you can multiply that. You know what? If whatever it is that you do, you need to be developing courses. You need to be coming up with courses. Some of y'all, you trying to see how you're going to scale your business. That's what God told me. He said, you got to come up with a system that's going to allow your voice to be there, that's going to allow your intellectual property to be there without you having to physically be there. Because, see, the owner of McDonald's ain't got to be at every single McDonald's to make sure it runs. You see what I'm saying? The owner of Chick-fil-A ain't got to be at every single Chick-fil-A to make sure it's running right. Why they don't have to do that? Because they have developed a system. They did the right thing one time, and then they made sure that every single location they set up was running the same system. That's all you got to do. You do the right thing one time, and then you go back and look at what you did, and you document those steps. You document it. That's your system. And then as time goes on, your system will improve. It will improve. Why? Because time will evolve. Technology will improve. You'll have different things set up in place to allow your business to run more smoother. But you got to develop it. You got to multiply it. You got to replenish the earth with it. You can't let your inventory go down, because the inventory is business. That's your business. If you ain't got inventory, you ain't got no business. So you got to have your inventory, and you got to keep that, and you got to replenish that, because you can't subdue if you don't have the inventory. So God say you got to replenish. Make sure you got enough for everybody, because you don't want the people to come in and you not prepared for them. So make sure you got enough. Make sure you got a system in place to hold all these people, because we praying for the overflow, but we ain't even got no system set up to hold all these people. Some of you don't even have a system set up to receive payments, but you praying for God to bless your business. You got to get in position. You got to get in position for the overflow. Because when it come in, if you're not ready for it, baby, that's a painful pill to swallow. Do you hear me? When you see all them people coming, you see all of that influx of people coming in, and you can't even service them because you wasn't even ready. So you got to develop your gift. Develop your gift. And then God said, once you done went through that full process, he said, that's when you subdue. He said, that's what Bill Gates did. He came up with a product. He multiplied it. He replenished the earth with it. And then he subdued the market. He subdued it. Bill Gates subdued it so much, baby, the government had to have a conversation with him. The government had to have a meeting with him. Wait a minute, baby. Your computer systems are running on every computer. Every computer in the world. You know what? God said you can be so good with what you do that the government will call you, the president will call you, because a man's gift will make room for him, and it will bring him before great men. But you got to understand, it's a developed gift. It's a gift that has been refined. It's a gift that has gone through the process. That gift is going to bring you before great men. Not the gift that you roll out the bed with in the morning and say, oh, I'm gifted. It's the man that went through the process. It's the one that took that gift and did something with it. So understand what I'm saying to y'all today. I know I said a lot, but I want y'all to really, really get that. Replay this episode a couple times. I want y'all to send this to some people too. Send this to some people that you think is really going to bless. Send it to some people. Tell some people about the podcast. Tell some people about what you've been learning, what you've been getting, and how your spirit has been growing. And then share it with them as well, so God can bless them. Glory be to God. But that's how you going to subdue. That's how you scale your business, by obeying God's first commandment. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. Subdue. Take over. Subdue means to shut it down. Take over. Bill Gates, baby. He can't, the computer system he came up with, listen to me. Listen to me. He shut it down. He took over. He took over. Look at McDonald's. Shut it down. They took over. I don't care where you go in the world. You're going to see a McDonald's. You're going to see a McDonald's. And I don't see none shutting down neither. I don't see none closing down. And they've been around for a long time and don't look like they're going nowhere anytime soon. So it's the system. Once your gift has been developed, baby, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I love y'all so much. Get as much as you can from this message. I am Latoya O'Keel. If you are in need of purpose coaching, if you're at a place in your life where you're ready to work with a coach and you want to discover your purpose, you want to find your gift, I want you to click the link on this video or on this podcast and book a session with me. Book a purpose coaching session with me. I was going to offer that as a course. I'm probably still going to develop it into a course, because I'm only going to be able to do these one-on-ones for so long. So I am going to develop it into a course. But right now, I'm still going to do the one-on-one. So get that time now. Get that now. Don't wait on that. Don't procrastinate on that. Because listen, what you invest in that session, if you really get into your gift and you develop it, you're going to make that back 1,000 times over. You'll make that back 1,000 times over. You won't even be thinking about what you invested, because it gonna be done paid off. I know, because I'm seeing my investments pay off. So I know that investing in your purpose and in your gifts is real, because I'm seeing that in my life. So I love y'all so much. I am Latoya O'Keel. To all my aspiring life coaches, you can also set up a discovery call with me. Now, let me tell y'all this about discovery calls. I do have quite a few people that reach out to me for a discovery call. So you book a discovery call, it may be March, it may be February next month sometime. If you're listening to this later, this was recorded in January, but it may be, a couple weeks out before I can get you on the calendar for a discovery call. If you feel that you've heard enough of my content and you're comfortable with going ahead and booking, I want you to just go ahead and book. You don't necessarily have to have the discovery call before you get your life coach training and certification, or before you book a session. Okay? You can reach out to me through email. Latoya, the discovery call calendar was booked out, and I need to go ahead and get in with you now because this has really been on me. Listen, if that's you serious about that and you ready to go ahead and book now, like you're book ready now, email me support@IamLatoyaOkia.com. I don't want you to wait for a discovery call. I want you to if you got that spirit on you to take action right now, I want you to take action and email me. And then we'll get all of that pre-work set up before we get on the session. We'll handle that through email. Okay. So I love y'all so much. I am Latoya Okia. Y'all be blessed.